Well, I'm sorry you have to see me talk twice within such a short amount of time. I'm Alex Bilmes, as all of you have probably known by now. Now, this is my first Puppet conference ever, which is pretty exciting. It's my first conference, and I get to talk to all you wonderful people not once, but twice. So just a bit of background on me. I currently run Insights, but prior to that, I came to Puppet as part of an acquisition. I was the CEO and co-founder of a data visualization as a service startup called Reflect. And I'll provide a little bit more context on that later. But the important thing that I'm here to talk about today is our exciting new product called Puppet Insights. Now, you're here because you believe in DevOps, and you believe that DevOps can help you move faster and build better things, at least in theory. There's actually no way to measure whether or not that's true, yet. So, as the founder of Reflect, the company that was acquired to solve this problem, and head of Insights, you would expect me to tell you that we're going to solve this problem for you. And you're correct. That's exactly what I'm going to do. But to build the best product possible, we need your help and participation. We're just releasing our first private beta of Insights today, and we need your feedback. If you choose to get involved, we will help you improve the velocity, the quality, and the business impact of your software delivery teams and processes. You heard Sanjay talk about this a little bit earlier today, but the bar is higher now. Being a software company isn't enough anymore. Everybody wants to be Netflix. So why Netflix? Well, Netflix has an IT organization that is the business itself. There's no separation between the technology and the business. It's one and the same thing. They're seen as thought leaders in open source and business and technology. They hire the best people. This sounds pretty great, but the important thing to note here is they didn't just catch lightning in a bottle. They do a lot of things right. They practice continuous deployment. And what that means is there is no friction, there are no bottlenecks between code that's ready to go to production and that code just going directly to production. It just flows right through. Netflix has barely over 5,000 people, and less than half of them are developers. What they're able to accomplish is absolutely incredible. Now let's think about this for a second. As of today, their market cap is roughly $150 billion, and they have just over 5,000 employees, which means that that's almost $30 million of value per employee. That's incredibly efficient. But being Netflix ain't easy. It's hard enough if you're a new company born in the digital age, but if you've been around for a while, it's really tough. You've gone through multiple phases of technological evolution. You're running just about every piece of software under the sun, and it's hard to move quickly. You have to change culture, which is people. That's hard. You have to change processes, and you have to change tools. And we all know how that goes. You're pushing a rock uphill. It's not easy, but we're all on this journey, whether we know it or not. Some of us are doing things like starting to use version control. Some of us are using CI/CD in parts of our organization. Some of us are doing all of these things, but not across our organization, just in specific pockets. Now, we're all trying to do better. As you've heard us say many times today, hopefully this is something that you'll remember. It should be ingrained in your head by now. You can't improve what you can't measure. But technology leaders don't have even basic visibility into their initiatives. And I find it sort of funny that technologists who you think would be furthest ahead on measuring themselves are actually almost behind every other organization. Now, there's a reason for this. Technology has historically been seen as a cost center and not a revenue center, which means that it's been easier for us to justify building tools for other parts of the organization, like finance, operations, or sales, as an example. Let's take a look at sales. If you're a sales leader, you can crisply articulate everything that's going on within your pipeline. You can tell what's working, what's not working, what the highest performing teams are, what the highest performing reps are. You know what your win rate is. You know what your average deal size is. You can even tell how long it takes to go from an initial phone call to closing a deal. And because you have so much visibility into what has happened, you can predict what will happen. The reason sales leaders can do this is because they have tools like Salesforce that make operationalizing all this easy. Now, technology leaders can't answer really fundamental questions, such as how fast are we shipping? How fast should we be shipping? Is the work that we're shipping of high quality? What is the value that we get from investing in DevOps? What's the value of being able to ship software, say, twice as fast? And there's no way to communicate progress on these initiatives other than, I think it's working. And as I like to say, if you trust your gut, you're either lucky or you're wrong. But why is it so hard to answer some of these fundamental questions? Well, let's take a look at deployment lead time. I talked about this metric a little bit earlier during the keynote, but for those of you who weren't here, deployment lead time is a really important metric. It measures the amount of time that it takes to go from code that's ready to be deployed to that code actually being deployed in a production environment. And the shorter the lead time, the better. The shorter the lead time, the faster your customers see the results of the work that you do. And also, a shorter lead time means that your processes are automated and there's not a lot of manual intervention. So how would you go about to getting this metric? Well, you can't get it from a single data source. So you'd have to connect to whatever you're using for version control, say GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, and then whatever you're using for CI/CD. This could be Jenkins, it could be Puppet Pipelines, Travis CI, Circle CI, a ton of different things. And the fun part about this is it's never just one of those. It's usually a number of these different things that you have to go and figure out. And then you'd have to figure out how to get data from all of these tools and into something that you can interact with. So if you're sophisticated, you'd be building a data pipeline and then pumping this into a database. But if you're rudimentary about things, you'd be taking little slices of this and putting them into an Excel file, as an example. And what you have now is you have raw data from a ton of different data sources. You still don't have deployment lead time. You'd have to figure out how to correlate the data across all these different sources so that you can look at a metric like deployment lead time. It comes from multiple different sources. Now, this is really hard for a single question from a single team. But it becomes absolutely impossible at scale. If you have hundreds of teams and thousands of developers, you have absolutely no visibility into what's going on. In a small organization, you can walk up to somebody, tap them on the shoulder, and you could quickly get at least a gut level sense of what's going on. But in an established company that's running every piece of software under the sun in 4 continents and a dozen time zones, you're just out of luck. It's far from being as easy as logging into Salesforce and checking out a report. This is why we're so excited to announce Puppet Insights. Insights lets you run DevOps like you would any other part of the business. And what that means is you finally get visibility into your entire DevOps toolchain. You get recommendations so that you can do the things that the best performing companies are doing and not just guess. And you can look at benchmarks that let you know how you're doing in comparison to every other company within your industry. Now, the best part of this is we're doing this with data that you already have. And you don't even have to build a data platform. We're doing that for you. So what we do is we ingest, normalize, correlate, and enrich the data across all the different tools that you're using. And the way that works is we connect to all your tools, and then we continuously fetch to make sure that the data is up to date. Then after that's done, we normalize the data and we clean it up. Then we correlate the data across the different data sources so that you can track metrics that come from not one but multiple sources. Deployment lead time is an example. And we let you effectively map a commit through the various stages of the software delivery pipeline all the way through to production. And then when that's done, we enrich it. And we enrich it with two different sources. So we enrich it with data that we have from the State of DevOps report, as well as inputs from our customer base. So people that use insights contribute to these learnings. And then after all that's done, we provide you beautiful dashboards, reports, and recommendations. So as Omri says, a little bit less talking and more showing. I'm going to have Brad Heller, who's a very special person to me. He was my co-founder at Reflect and is now head of engineering for Insights, come up and show you a demo. Everybody, please welcome Brad.
Hey, buddy. Good morning, everybody. As Alex mentioned, my name is Brad Heller. I'm currently the director of engineering for the Insights group and previously co-founder and CTO of Reflect. I'm really excited to give you all another look at Insights. We'll go deeper on some of the features that you saw in Alex's keynote demo earlier today. We'll show you a couple of new ones, but throughout this demo, I hope to show you how we take data from all the tools in your software delivery pipeline and provide actionable key performance indicators that you can use to optimize your DevOps performance internally. To kick things off, let's revisit the dashboard that you guys saw a moment ago. So the dashboard really encapsulates all the things that we think are most important for most businesses in the ecosystem to keep track of. And before we go too much further, I want to remind you that all the data you see here is data that we actually collected on the Puppet Insights group and the Puppet Pipelines group internally as part of our internal dog fooding program while rolling out Insights. Anyway, back to the dashboard. Everything's divided up in terms of velocity, quality, and impact, and that's sort of true across the product. And we give you a score within each category. These scores are really just a roll-up of the key metrics within that category and are developed based on trends that we've looked at while analyzing the high and low performers within the State of DevOps report. One small sort of detail here. Notice that we provide an absolute change in the score here. It's a little small on the screen, but that's because we're currently looking at this dashboard in terms of monthly data. We can look at this dashboard in terms of weekly data or daily data as well, or we can look at this dashboard in terms of specific projects. So what we're really saying here is between last month and this month, our velocity score went down by 5 points and our quality score went up by 1 point. These scores are really just a great way of benchmarking your organization's performance to other companies or even project to project or potentially team to team. Within each category, we highlight a few key activity metrics to give you a sense for what's going on within your organization. And then we obviously pull forward the sort of top-of-line metrics that we think are most important in that category. So for the velocity category, deployment lead time and deployment frequency. In the quality category, similar sort of theme. We start with some high-level activity metrics, and then the top-of-line metrics are availability and defect rate in production. We have a couple of lenses that we look at your data set through on the dashboard. Another one of these, which you saw a moment ago, is the software delivery pipeline view, where we actually physically model how your how code goes through the various pipeline or stages of your delivery pipeline in terms of code, build, and deploy. So, for instance, in the build stage, in the last month, we had 796 builds, which is up by 88%. That should give you an indicator for what the run-up to Puppetize Live has been like for us. And then we highlight some of the key metrics in that category. So total fail builds, build failure rate, and your average build time. Just as another example, in the code category, everything is sort of commit-centric, but same theme, activity, and key metrics to monitor below. And then finally, we break down your top teams and your top projects, just in terms of some basic activity metrics, again, just as a way of sort of keeping your finger on the pulse of your organization. So far, we've talked a lot about how we use data to provide the relevant analytics here on this dashboard, but we haven't talked very much specifically about what data we need access to or even how we get that data in the first place. So, as Alex said in the talk, Insights works by taking data from various services and mashing it up to provide, all of our analytics. So for the velocity data set, for instance, we need access to your source control management service, like GitHub, and to your CI/CD services, like maybe Puppet Pipelines or Jenkins. And then the workflow from there is pretty straightforward. You give us read-only access. Our automation looks at your team's historical usage of that service and then monitors your team's usage on an ongoing basis. We take all that data and we package it up and we feed it through our custom analytics engine, which correlates it and then generates a time series of insights that we use to power all the visualizations and charts that you see here. Setting up integrations and insights is really straightforward. This is really the first screen that you interact with when you're setting up insights. We can add a new integration really quickly. Just click the plus button and select which service you'd like to integrate with, say maybe Puppet Pipelines. Give your integration a name and give us the relevant credentials for the integration, and our automation takes over from here, and your dashboard will be populated in just a couple minutes. So the dashboard is a really cool way of monitoring the high-level parts of your organization's performance. But the real power of Insights comes into play into a set of features that we call reports. So as I mentioned, dashboards meant for sort of high level. Reports are really a way for you to dig into your data, explore it, and analyze it for key trends within the data set. Insights comes with a number of standard reports out of the box, and you can even create your own reports, which we'll get into in a moment. But let's take a look at this report here. We're looking at the organization velocity report. So it's a report about velocity across your organization. All the reports inside of Insights are time-oriented, so you can scrub through time however you want here. We're currently looking at the last year's worth of data, but if we wanted to look at a specific quarter or compare a couple of quarters to each other, we could do that pretty easily. And you can create your own filters here too if you want to look at your visualizations in a specific way. Say maybe we want to only include teams that don't contain the word pipelines. And you can see all the visualizations updated accordingly. We're super into data visualization. That's sort of our thing. But what's most important in Insights is the data itself, right? We want to make sure that you can take this data is as actionable to you as possible. To that end, you can take any of the data backing any of these charts and export it to CSV and Excel as a way of integrating it with your existing business processes. And we also have APIs available that you can hit to pull this data into your processes in an automated way. So this is a really cool report, but let's say that you might want to customize this report for some reason. Maybe you want to set it up for a specific audience, or maybe you want to pull forward some metrics that aren't currently on here, or I don't know, you just want to look at it in a different way for some reason. Inside Insights, you can create new reports from whole cloth, or you can use existing reports as sort of a baseline. Let's customize this report. To do that, we start by copying it, and we give it a name, my new velocity report for PLive. And then we can enter edit mode, and we can really do whatever we want to this report at this point. Let's start by adding a new visualization. So I'll make room for the visualization here. I think that's enough room. And then I'll go up to the visualization menu, and we'll add a new donut chart, the most beloved of visualizations. Now that the chart's in place, we have to pick what we actually want to visualize here. So maybe we'll break down total builds by team. We can give it a new name, something a little bit more reasonable. My team's builds, perhaps. And then all of our visualizations have a number of options that come with them. Let's turn this visualization into a pie chart for whatever reason. So now that we have this chart in place, this bar chart's a little cramped. It's kind of tough to read. So what we'll do is we'll come in here and we'll disable the legend. And in order to make it a little easier to read at a glance what's going on, we'll turn on the labels on the X and the Y axis. So you can just sort of glance at it and see what's going on. Finally, one other change that I wanted to make here is on this visualization, I want to pull forward the actual lines in the line chart. So I'll take the legend and I'll move it to the bottom, make it a little bigger. And I'll turn on the grid because this visualization is so wide, it's kind of hard to see what's happening on the right side of the visualization while the axis is on the left side. One other cool feature I just wanted to sort of show off is you can add filters. I don't know why this tooltip's not going away. You can add filters on an ad hoc basis to these visualizations. So for instance, if we wanted to filter this line chart where team contains the word insights, now this visualization will always have this filter on it, and anytime we look at it. So we can save this report, and we can refer back to it whenever we want in the My Reports section. Your top reports will show up here, and yeah, you can. Your top reports will show up in the sidebar, and you'll have a list of reports available, of everything that you've created. So it's still early for insights. There's a lot of things that we're still working on, but we're really excited about it. We're going to have a demo booth set up upstairs for anyone who wants to go deeper, has specific questions about insights. Would love to talk to you about it. But for now, hand it back to Alex for what's next for insights.
I'm going to blame the tooltip on the projectors here. Don't know how that happened, but hopefully you all enjoyed the demo as much as I did. That was super fun. We're very proud of what we've built, but we're also very excited about the things that we're working on next. So you saw our initial data sets on velocity and quality, and our initial data integrations, GitHub, Jira, Puppet pipelines, Travis CI. And our initial benchmarking recommendations that are powered by data from the State of DevOps report. Now, while velocity and quality are incredibly important, to get a complete story, you need to understand the impact. And that's what we're working on next. We're also prioritizing additional integrations based on customer feedback. And we're improving benchmarking and recommendations with usage data from customers in our private beta. Now, I've mentioned this before, but I just want to mention this one more time. This is a really, really hard problem, but I also believe that there are no easy problems in software left to solve, so we're going for it. And there are different approaches to solving a problem like this. I'm going to wax poetic here for a second, so please bear with me. There's what I would call a product strategy first approach, so you build what you would consider an intellectually correct product. We've all seen those really long 50-page PRD docs. There's a competitor first strategy, which is you see what somebody is doing, and then you copy them very, very quickly, and then you iterate, hoping to get ahead of them. And there's actually a lot of this happening in the DevOps ROI space right now. But I don't believe that that's how we're going to build the best product possible. I believe that the way that we're going to win is by taking a customer-first approach. And the way that we do this is we spend a lot of time with our early customers. They're part of our design process. They're part of our product development process. They look at mock-ups. Feedback is given to us at every part of the journey. And they're very tightly interwoven to our process. And part of that means we iterate really quickly and things change very quickly, but that's just part of the process. Now, I mentioned this a little bit ago. We were acquired. Reflect was acquired to solve this problem. And you saw a lot of Reflect's technology in the demo that Brad gave, as well as in the demo earlier in the keynote. We built a really great data visualization as a service platform. Before that, a lot of us, 5 of us from the founding team, were at Cloudability, where we built a cloud cost analytics platform. So we built the data platform and the analytics engine. We have collaboratively spent about 20 years, if not more, working on this same problem space. And now we're also part of Puppet. So Puppet has an incredibly rich data set from all the tools that we have from our product portfolio, but also from the work that we've done in the State of DevOps report. And we also know a little something about DevOps. And now our team has grown to include some really great new people, which have been very, very helpful to us growing up. And if anybody can solve this problem, it's us. But to build the best product possible, we need your help and feedback. By getting involved early, you get to help shape the product so that we build exactly what you want. But that's not all. As a special thank you, our design team, Sig, one of the designers from Reflect, designed this sweatshirt that we're going to make for our first 25 customers. These will be made completely custom in whatever size you want. And one thing I do want to point out is there's a qualification process to get into our beta program. We want to make sure that we can help with your specific use cases and that we get the feedback that we need. If you would like to get involved and if you're interested in helping us out, please go to puppet.com/insights and fill in the little form that you have there in the top right. And we will do our best to get back to you as quickly as possible. We have a ton of interest, so we're doing our best. So please bear with us, and the more context and information that you can provide, the more likely we will be to get back to you quickly. Thank you very much. And as Brad mentioned, if you would like any more information, we will be hovering around the demo station. And you can also join our community Slack and hit either Brad or I directly. Thank you very much.